And a very, very good morning to all my usually motivated guests who are watching this podcast or watching or listening to this podcast or this podcast video right now. The day is, I actually don't know. Today might be February 14th. A very happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I enjoyed it with my wife on Friday night. And, you know, Saturday a little bit, but whatever the case is, we joined a little early because we're in Florida. So this is a very special edition of the Miletti Law podcast, where we have the heaviest microphone in law, Elysium Studios, which one day will be named when I get done with my trademark fighting currently. So very special episode of today's podcast, video, audio and video included. I am driving back from Florida. As some of you may already know, I participated in what I call the Freedom Trail, where I drove down to Florida, Freedom Trail 2021. The theory behind it was on principle. The idea is that in my adult life, no one has ever helped me in anything I've done, ever. I have always done everything myself. I've paid every bill. I've earned every dollar myself. And along the way, I've had a chip over my shoulder. Everyone has insulted me in terms of how my mannerisms are, my accent, how I dress in the courtroom, all kinds of nonsense, and I've always prevailed in my life. Well, let me just say, I haven't won every fight, but I've always withstood any drama that came my way and made it out alive. So, let's put it this way. There is no way in 2020 and 2021 that anybody in the government who has never helped me a day in my adult life is going to tell me how to live my life, going to tell me how I need to travel, going to tell me I need to wear a mask, going to tell me I need to get tested for this, get tested for that, and protect me from myself. And in the name of protection, no one. Well, first of all, you never will have the right to tell me what is the best thing for me to do. I am an adult. I'm a rational adult. I'm a male. That male rational adult, I have lived my whole life and made every decision myself. You will never tell me what's best for me. I will tell me what's best for me. All right? That's number one. And number two, I'm simply put, I'm not going to be compelled and forced to put on some stupid mask that does absolutely nothing. It says it on the box, statistically, scientific evidence, everything says the mask does absolutely nothing. It protects against big droplets, which that is not how COVID is transmitted. That's not how viruses are transmitted. So they can go to hell. That's not the point. So the point of this video is I just really want to discuss the difference between Florida and New York. And honestly, for all of you in New York who just forgot what freedom felt like, starting March 7, 2020, I think that's when the executive order started. For all of you in New York who really forgot what true freedom sounded like, I mean, it's really a shame. Florida reminds me of how wonderful it is to be able to walk out of your building, to be able to walk out of your house without restrictions, without a mask on, without gloves, without a face shield or whatever it is you people are wearing now. To go into a business without having to set reservations, without having to worry about a 25% restriction or a 10% restriction, depending on where you are. to go into a church on a Sunday, you know, without having to worry about, you know, everybody getting sick, and without having to worry about, you know, getting fined. I mean, it's truly amazing, because here in America, this country takes freedom for granted. And, you know, a lot of you listen to this and think it's like cliche, you know, that's what everyone says, blah, 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 and it's not true. No, you really do. So our grandparents, ancestors, parents came here from other countries. You know, recently you had the fall of the Soviet Union in the 90s. We're talking about 20 years ago. And, I mean, just how fast people's memory forget. You know, people left a lot of these countries, these former Soviet Union blocks. I mean, it came here because you had freedom. You didn't need, now you do. You didn't need papers. In the Soviet Union, you needed papers to go from city to city to city. You know, you needed cards, you needed this, you needed that. You don't need that in this country. I mean, now it seems like you do, what Cuomo's trying to do. But, you know, you don't, before 2020, you didn't, this wasn't even something you thought about. You didn't need these things, you know? And in this country, we really take freedom for granted, you know, and you know, we progress to a point where we're willing to even give up something as important as our individual freedom and sovereignty. We're willing to give it up, you know, to be safe, to be, you know, be protected, to be, and like 2020 really was a year of absurdity, because what was funny with, you know, 2020 was the year that for some reason nobody died of the flu anymore. The flu had like a 95% decrease rate. You know, COVID was, everybody was dying of COVID, no matter what you died from, including my grandmother recently. I mean, 2020 was definitely like an eye-opener. I mean, it shows the frailties of the American psyche. You know, we're no longer the country that preserves and respects freedom. We're not that anymore. Like, we're different. Well, at least in New York. So, and I think that's the point. That's the point, really, of this podcast, to let everybody know. So, I want to give you just my, you know, my own personal experience. You know, Florida does it right. You know, a lot of people. I mean, this is controversial, because what's gonna, you know, it's only controversial because of politics. So what's going to wind up happening is I'm going to post this video on YouTube. I'm going to post this video on Instagram. I'm going to post this video on SoundCloud, the podcast on SoundCloud. And YouTube is going to block me. And Facebook is going to block me, because when you say things that are anti-vaccine, anti-COVID, you know, or even question them, you get blocked. I mean, it's literally in their terms and conditions. It's literally in their boost regulation guidelines. I don't know if any of you realize, I have not, since I opened up this website, I have not boosted one, I haven't been able to boost anything. I think I boosted maybe one advertisement, but everything that I've wanted to boost, like cool stuff, like my podcast and my SoundCloud, all my cool things, I can't boost ever, because they never pass the smell test. And no matter what it is, this won't pass the smell test. This won't be boosted. So, I mean, you know, you take the freedoms that we have for granted. You know, we let it go. In New York, everybody's so fine with it. They're so happy about it, and they're so scared. Everyone talks about this. Fine. Everybody talks about this. Everybody talks about that. You don't understand, guys and girls. Like, I mean, let me get into that. Let me just go back to my originals. I'm very passionate about it, obviously. So I rant a lot about it. So let me just go back to it. So Florida does it right, okay? Florida has, you know, a far lower infection rate, far lower death rate of COVID than New York does, okay? And I think Florida might have a larger population. I could be wrong, but I think they have a larger population in Florida. Only 11 out of 67 counties have mandates, okay? So that means that a large majority of Florida has no mandates whatsoever. And keep in mind, even some places with the mandates, like Miami, Hillsborough, which is Tampa, for those of you who aren't familiar with the counties. Even in those places, they don't enforce them. Like, it's 50-50 enforcement. A restaurant may have you come in for a second with a mask on, but then leave. But then you take it off within a minute. I mean, that I still don't approve of either. But because it's an order from the county, which I don't approve of. But the fact of the matter is, though, it's like Florida does it right. So Florida, for the most part, is free. All right. So only 11 out of 67 counties have mandates. And the psyche in Florida is much different. No one's afraid. No one's scared. You know what's really funny in Florida? In New York, they like to say, but I'm only doing it nice to protect you. Number one, you're not protecting me. The mask does not protect. Study after study, until it's blocked, shows that there's no difference. I think the word is statistical or scientific difference. I can't remember the word. My wife would know more because she knows the stuff much better than me. But you probably should listen to a podcast. She knows this stuff much better than I do on Miletti. She's got the science on point. But, I mean, it doesn't help anything, okay? It doesn't help anything. And what's even funny is when people sneeze and cough, they pull down the mask to do it. It doesn't help anything, all right? So the people fool themselves. They make excuses and they justify the fact that their freedoms are being unreasonably restricted for no reason, arbitrary and capricious, with no scientific basis behind it, with no constitutional basis behind it. You know, everybody likes to talk about Jacobson, but it's not the case, and nobody challenges the courts. Like to say judicial deference, like to say, you know, most courts, with the exception of, say, like Erie County or some of the more local courts, most of the courts are just like they're okay with it, okay? They're okay with the lockdowns, they're okay with the mandates, they're okay with the restrictions, because they just say, listen, the voters give what they want. But the problem in New York is the voters in New York, they're terrified. The media has terrified you. The media has, for months, CNN had the death clock, right? The media terrifies you. The government lies to you. They outright lie to you. The data, everything. It's an outright lie. I am telling you from firsthand knowledge, from inside of a courtroom, on deposition, during discovery, they have not been able to prove anything, and every one of their arguments falls apart. And I can't explain it enough. And this is why the psyche in New York is so terrible. I mean, there's every fact I can't understand it. Every day, and I never wanted to say this, but every day I think about it, I feel like it might really be about the election, and I never wanted to say that. I never wanted to believe it, because in my mind I said, no one can be so stupid, no politician can be so stupid to think that, it would be a smart risk to risk losing your entire voting base and to risk losing generations of voters, to rig an election or whatever the case is. But that might be the case. To me, it's either that or it's their outright desire for control, for government control. That's the only two things that make sense to me. That is the only two things that make sense to me, because everything is consistent with control. Now that the election is gone, they're still trying, I guess they're still trying to impeach Trump, which I think last I heard, the second impeachment process failed too. So I have no real opinion on that. I try to stay away from politics. I really do. I mean, I'm very political, but I really try to stay away because, I've always said, as a smart attorney, you know, you like bad law as a smart attorney, because bad law brings you more business. Every time there's a bad law, a smarter attorney will find a way to capitalize off it and make money. So, you know, I don't necessarily, I try not to get involved in the politics and the bad law, but I mean, something like this is so much in your face, like 24/7, that there's no way around it. Like, there's just no way around it, you know? Well, again, see, going back to Florida, doing it right, sorry. So, the psyche in Florida is also very different. So, nobody in Florida is afraid. Nobody in Florida is really afraid of you. At all. No one cares. No one screams. People still hug and kiss you. People still give you pounds. People still shake your hands. You know, day one in Florida, I was greeted at Publix. The guy was talking to me, made some comment about smart water. I have a test tomorrow. And, you know, my brain initially converted that into something COVID. I was like, wait, COVID test? Is he asking me if I have my papers? Is he tell me not to wear a mask? And no, he just wanted to make a joke. And it was very nice. And, you know, I leave Publix, and then I went next door to CVS, to Ace Hardware, to buy a table. No problem. Guy had it down on his ear, hung it down. You know, he put it on when he came next to me, and then I guess he realized I wasn't the type to be nervous, so he put it back down, no problem. You know? Then next door, Dollar General, same thing. Very nice. You know, kid was, you know, flamboyant. You know, kid was lived an alternative lifestyle. It was very nice and sweet to me, and it was very cool. And we spoke, and, you know, everything was fun. And it's you know, it just was peace. It was peace. It was happy. No one was afraid. You weren't going next to anybody, and the first thing they did was back up 6 feet. You know, or the first thing they did was no, put the mask on. Like, you didn't have that, and in New York you do. You know, and it's a shame. It's sad. It's really sad. It's a sad shame, because everyone in New York, literally everyone is afraid. There's like 99%. You know, you're afraid of the virus. You know, you're afraid of someone ratting on you. You're afraid of people calling the police on you, because the city opens up their little hotline for COVID violations, for social distancing violations. You know? And people eat each other. I mean, I have stories. I'm hearing stories of local business owners, you know, guys that own restaurants, that they were trying to do under the table, trying to be quiet, open up the restaurant just for their family and friends and host events, which was how they were getting by, because you can't really you were shut down for so long. And their own family member called 311 and ratted on them, you know? And that's like really sad. That's really sad, because, I mean, this goes really more than, look, you know my mentality. You know, to me it's unconstitutional. I could articulate and make the case. I think a judge needs to step in. I think the judges in New York City just are afraid to challenge the Emperor Cuomo. I think they're just afraid to challenge him. Everyone's afraid to challenge him, and I don't understand why. In the state, in Erie County, like Nassau County, they're more aggressive. They care less. Staten Italy has max, you know, but I mean, but the courtrooms, you know, you're not going to go, you know, the county of Richmond for like court, right? Like, I mean, they don't even. I know I had a case in Richmond County a couple months ago, and the clerk had no idea. She was like, yeah, we just finally got a computer system in. Oh, that case was paper filed. Yeah, we probably have no record of it anymore. They legitimately had no record of a case that was paper filed in 2018. So Richmond County is not going to be, even though I appreciate what Mac's doing, Richmond County is not going to be your bastion of freedom right there. You know, so it has to come from Brooklyn, it has to come from New York City, and it's just not going to. There's the psyche of the people is very different. People are just, they're terrified. They like the restrictions. I contend that people like non-business owners like the restrictions. They like to sit home. They like to get that check. They like to be able to have COVID to lean on. It's just something, they like to get the special treatment. They don't mind wearing a mask. They don't mind having a 25% capacity. They don't mind businesses being regulated, being told to close at 10 o'clock. They don't mind having family restrictions. These people don't mind it because at the end of the day, in exchange, they're getting, you know, their unemployment checks. They're getting their COVID boost on those checks. I think it's $300. It was $600 at first every week. You know, and then just people don't care. You know, Amazon is saving the day. Amazon is delivering everything to the house. You know, you have everything in your home. You have Netflix. People buy a big television. That's it. You're happy. You watch TV all day. You know, and it's so heartbreaking to me. I can't deal. I have watched 6 out of 10 stores on my neighborhood, on my avenue, out of business in April. Like from March on, April on. I mean, they just couldn't withstand the pressure anymore. And these businesses are helpless. They're afraid to open up because we have the Department of Health Nazis every day walking in. You know, they're afraid. They're lied to by the Department of Health. Told they're going to get $10,000, $15,000 fines. You're not going to get $10,000 to $15,000 fines. The law does not. The only time those fines were desired, those fines, that statute was written to speak to congregations and churches. Regular businesses are not going to have that. It's unconstitutional because the disparate impact on the church itself is unconstitutional, and that was already proven in the diocese case that the New York diocese had against the city. But it doesn't matter because Cuomo doesn't give a shit, and people don't care. That's it. No one cares, you know, and like. It's just not, you're not going to get, you know, so no business is going to get a $10,000 or $15,000 fine. You're never going to. And then on top of it, I keep one thing in mind too. All of that statute that I refer to all the time is merely a rule for the Department of Health. It's the Department of Health rule and regulation, NYCRR 66. 10 NYCRR 66, you know, .1 through .5, right? And there's no enforcement mechanism on it. So, all right, so legally speaking, right? Every time there's some kind of enforcement mechanism, every time some kind of law that puts pain on you, that incarcerates you, or that, you know, takes your money, takes a fine, everything is spelled out in the statute. Your defenses, your procedural requirements, what the scope is, who it applies to, what's the intended purpose of the statute, the defenses to the statute if they're located elsewhere in the statute. Exceptions, because every rule has an exception somewhere, and that's it. And the appeals process, if you don't agree with the verdict, every single punitive statute in this country, in New York, in this country, has that same structure. Even terrible one-sided things like CARB, the California Air Resources Board, and the EPA, that are just essentially evil tyrants that do whatever they want to do. Even those agencies have exceptions and wiggle rooms for you, right? So there's no way, it's not enforceable. And, you know, this is why all these guys, when they challenge these statutes, when Max challenges the fines that Jim in Long Island, I can't remember, but that Jim in Long Island, the guy with the really nice beard, not the Jersey guy. That's the boss. That is Attilas. We're not talking about Attilas. I can't remember the one in Long Island. He challenged, got thrown out. They all get thrown out. And they get thrown out simply because, and what's really funny is the court cites like other kind of like procedural things why they get thrown out, or, you know, all the kind of items. Well, this is simply one specific instance. No, they get thrown out because they're statutorily problematic. They don't have proper statutory structure, and they're totally unenforceable, completely unenforceable. And, you know, it's really sad that in New York, so Florida has a right. I keep venting, I keep ranting. Florida has a right because Florida, look, they don't impose on other people, okay? If you want to wear a mask in Florida, you wear a mask. If you genuinely feel that it's helping yourself or helping others, wear it. It's a free country. There's no problem. Do whatever you want to do. You're not hurting anyone. Do what you want to do. It's a free country. And in Florida, they get it. They, at least in, you know, other than those 11 of 67 counties, they get it in Florida, okay? And even in the 11 counties, there's a lot of it, like, people don't enforce it. They're not calling you on, they're not calling you on, what do you call it? They're not calling the Department of Health on you in Florida, you know? So, I mean, it's a very different world. It's just a very different thing. No one's, like, up your ass about it. No one's anal about it, you know? But that's really how it needs to be. I mean, and look, the numbers speak for itself in Florida. Like, the numbers speak for itself. Like, the infection rate is far lower than New York. The death rate is far lower than New York. And keep in mind, New York inflates their numbers, okay? New York completely lies and inflates their numbers. They've been found routinely. They have been found inflating numbers. I save every article I get that says this because Google erases it, you know? Google takes away the links. They Google blocks people. They slow bandwidth. They did it to Ron Paul. They did it to a couple of those, NHCI, I don't know, I can't remember, the National Health Institute, NHIS something. They did it to a couple of those links. I mean, Google, like, it's a real big, it's scary. It's really scary because you see just how well they manipulate your mind, how well they control your mind, you know? I mean, that New York Times article was weird, right? Like, I mean, they even spoke about, like, a ministry of truth. And it's such a shame that it got to this. I mean, this country is not this country. New York is just not it anymore. It's just not. I don't live in the same country that I've lived in the past. I don't enjoy it anymore. Like, this is really bad, and, you know, I'm at a point in my life where I'm just not happy, like, in New York, you know, but more so, I feel worse for my country. I feel worse for my country. I feel terrible because it's just, there's no logic behind anything that we do. There are so many problems. I did so in one of the cases I worked on, that was part of, I don't want to disclose too much, right? Because, you know, confidentiality in your clients, and you can probably right away know who I'm talking about. But, so I can't disclose too much, but one of my clients, well, friends who, you know, wound up going with another firm, but, you know, we're still close, had asked me one time to do or study because he couldn't afford his attorney. Couldn't afford his attorney rate. So he asked me if I could help him and prepare like an affidavit, prepare something for like an exhibit for like the damage that was caused, the ancillary damage that was caused by the shutdowns and the mandates and everything like this. And I mean, like, it was catastrophic. I mean, I was mind blown when I looked at those numbers. I saw like a 20-30% increase in like domestic violence. I saw a 40% increase, I think, in suicide. I saw another, 30-40% increases in, alcoholism and stuff. I mean, it was really sad. Obesity went up something like 26-27%. And, obesity is probably the biggest contributor to why you are so unhealthy. I mean, the typical American model, and my wife pointed it out, is just simply to, eat and live like shit, but it's okay, we'll be over-medicated. And that's like the American model. And I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not like oh wait, I'm coming into a hard stop here. So I'm not anti-medicine, I'm not anti-drug, I'm nothing like that. I'm just, I'm just like, it's, damn. Alright, well, this podcast is going pretty long. I'm about to lose I'm going to go ahead and pause, just take a look at the instructions, and then I'm going to come back. So where we left off at problems, the ancillary problems with what's going on in New York, and we will come back. But I'm going to pause this right now. I'm going to stop this and then do a part 2, and then I'll combine them together. So, be right back. Okay, and here we are in part 2. So that short little breaking point was because it was a left and a right, and I notoriously, when it comes to a 50-50 decision, I always take the wrong side. I just wanted to make sure, because I've been driving way too long to be making these last minute mistakes like this. So I just want to make sure. So I am back on 95 North. I did not fall into that 495 East, and I'm happy. Okay, so where were we? So so there was a lot. So when I did my research, there was a lot of problems with the restrictions, right? So the restrictions had it was more than just businesses. It was more than people just being out of business. Rather, it was a whole slew of problematic issues that came out from the restrictions. I mean, people, being home all day, the incidents of domestic violence increased. Not seeing your friends, being isolated, incidents of suicide increased tremendously. Alcoholism, drug use, divorce rates are going up. I mean, the homicides in New York have been on a whole nother level. I mean, honestly, another couple, there are a lot of things people don't realize that also occur with the mandates. One, New York is not catching criminals anymore. They're just not. Criminals now have masks on. They're completely covered in their face. There is no facial recognition anymore. So how many homicides are going unfounded right now? How many homicides are going on where no one can find who the killer is? Or there are no leads because everybody's masked up and confused. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you do realize that was against the law quite some time, to go into a bank with a mask on, to go into, to go into a bank with a face covering, to go into a building, a government building with a face covering. That was against the law. And suddenly now it's smart. Suddenly now it's science, right? So that's a huge problem, number one. Number two, what if let's say I'm not, but what if you're a big environmentalist? What if you're a big green movement person, right? What if you're like, the environment is getting destroyed? You know how much plastic gets into the air, how much plastic gets into the environment from the manufacturing of these masks that are just literally thrown on the floor endlessly all the time. So when people get out of the store, bam, they throw it on the floor, right? And I mean, it's tremendous. I have a folder on my cell phone where I started, it was like mask of the new straws, and I just basically would take pictures. I mean, I had like 60 pictures in 2 days. That's just how it is. I mean, people don't, people are there for convenience. People want it easy. It's very easy to just take the mask off that the earpiece already cracks off immediately, it snaps, and just throw it in the garbage barrel. It's very easy for people to do. So it's not difficult for people. So these are like real issues. These are like problems. And if you're into the environment, you want to save the environment. You know how much damage that does? What are you going to do with the waste product, right? It's going to be very hard to recycle it. What are you going to do with it? You're just going to put it in landfills? I mean, I don't know, right? And again, I'm not a big environmentalist, but these are other challenges that you have to consider. Companies completely retooling that used to be very big on manufacturing one particular item, now just retooling to manufacture PPE like masks and stuff, and they're not producing what they usually typically produce, which causes all kinds of supply chain disruptions. 6-foot requirements for distancing means less people in a warehouse. It means less people on an assembly line. It means less people at McDonald's. It means less people at your fast food. It means less jobs. So I mean, there are tons of problems that have to do with these mandates, and just everybody ignores them. It's a shame. Everybody ignores them. And for those of you that I just cannot get over, for those of you who say you do it for the greater good because you're not selfish and you don't want to get others. That is not right. Okay. First of all, that's incorrect. I've said this already 100 times. The data is out there. Masks are not protecting from COVID, okay? You're not protecting others. Distancing is likely the best thing to protect others, to keep them from getting infected, but masks are not protecting them, okay? The vaccine is not preventing transmission. The vaccine is not protecting others. The vaccine gives you antibodies, which would have been the case had you been exposed to it originally in the beginning. Okay? Admittedly, I don't know the science, how much it works, but that's how I understand it. I heard some other story from somebody the other day that what it actually does is it doesn't really build antibodies, but it gives you some other ingredient that your body converts. I don't know. I'm not getting into the debate on how it actually works, but in your life, every vaccine has always worked the same way. You get a little bit, it gives you you get your antigens build up, and that's how you do it. That's how I understand this vaccine. That's how I read Pfizer's white letter that they wrote for the FDA, and that's, to me, that's how the other things, I'm not a scientist, I'm not talking about it, but that's how vaccines work. And it says that's exactly how it works in the Pfizer letter. But the Pfizer letter was interesting. It doesn't protect against transmission. It protects the person. Just like if you were to be exposed by somebody with COVID and you build your antibodies and you go. Now the story is, well, what about old people, right? Should old people get it? Okay, but that's their choice. It shouldn't be mandated for everyone. You shouldn't require kids to have to get it. You shouldn't require kids to have to be vaccinated. You shouldn't have to require people that don't want to get it, conscientious objectors, people that don't believe in getting the vaccine, people that don't believe in the shots, religious subject, people that oppose it from a religious perspective. There should be no mandates, and employers need to stop being stupid and requiring these things. I'm hearing stories of employers like, we're going to start implementing enforcement, vaccine policies. You do realize you could get sued. You do realize this. The EEOC was very clear in their letter that you'll get sued. Ranting again. I got to get back to the main point. The main point is in Florida. I don't want to rant because I've ranted on enough already. If I haven't laid out my case yet for you, and it doesn't convey the message to you, and if all my writings have not conveyed the message, and if you still believe that the government is correct and accurate, then I cannot help you. Then I cannot convince you, and I'm done convincing you, because you will always be the problem. You will forever, the endless credulity given to the government is going to be the problem. Just saying that this appeal to authority, that they're an authoritative body and they're right, that is wrong. And the fact that if that's where your position is, then I cannot help you. If you do not recognize the problems, if you do not recognize the lying, if you do not recognize how Cuomo changes executive orders, by the way, which I discovered months ago, that's one of the reasons why I started saving them. Every time I get them, I start printing them. Because his administration, his agency literally goes back into the original executive order and adds more material in there. And New York is, as far as I know, New York is the only state that has a purely electronic format executive order. Jersey has it typed out and written. They have electronic, but they also have it typed out and written. It's basically a PDF that's scanned in Jersey. Florida, it's a PDF that's scanned in Florida. Even California, even the liberal friggin' worst state in this country, California, has a paper executive order. Cuomo does not. There is no paper executive order, and he modifies it as he deems fit. His team does as he deems fit. This was the case back in April. I remember it clearly. That's why I started saving them now, dating them. Because he is constantly rewriting history, constantly rewriting what has happened in the past. Because just like in 1984, he who controls the past will control the future. He who controls the past controls the present. He who controls the present controls the future. He who controls the future controls all. And this is exactly the situation. So, again, Florida does it right. No one presses you in Florida. No one yells at you. No one jumps back immediately when they see you. No one does that, bob and weave 6 feet as soon as they come next to you. No one does that in Florida. Everybody lives their life peacefully. If you want to wear it, you wear it. If you don't want to wear it, you don't want to wear it. No one fights you down there. Everybody treats you with respect and dignity. Everyone respects your freedom. Everyone respects your integrity. I was on an elevator. 2 people in particular were so happy that I was not like one of the crazy people, like one of the Karens. 2 people in particular. One lady on an elevator. So I'm taking the elevator down, and I was supposed to go to the 1st floor from the 7th floor. I got at the 3rd floor, and then I went to go walk out. I was like, oh wait, this is the 3rd floor. Oh no, this is way too far to be just taking the cliff down to the bottom, taking the side. That's a long jump. So I was like, all right, get back in the elevator. So 2 ladies, 2 old elderly ladies with their masks on, do you mind if we come in with you? And I'm like, do I mind? Come on, come in. What's the matter with you? Of course I want you in here. So whatever. Come on, don't worry about it. Come on, give me all the COVID. It's okay. I'm 38 years old. 37. I actually said my right age. I'm 37 years old. Go ahead. I'm invincible. Nothing. If I get COVID, it will need to be quarantined from this body for 14 days. Don't you worry about it. And like the ladies were so happy that like they didn't get like, stared at weird. They didn't get like that it wasn't a problem, And it generally isn't a problem in Florida, but the funny thing is in Florida, I actually believe people when they say they're doing it to not, for the risk of infecting others. I actually believe you in Florida. In Florida, I believe you. In New York, I don't. Because in New York, New York is different. Where I was in Florida, you have an elderly population. They're not on the computer, like, they're not computer savvy where they're looking at the data, where they're looking at the research. The news media down there, you don't have COVID all day on the local news media. You have other interesting things that are going on. You got the red light over there that I always talk about on the last video. You have events going on in the neighborhood. You apparently have a huge Taco Tuesday culture down there. Like, no one's talking about it on the local news. So these people aren't like, whatever. They're not like, they don't know, they're not told every day how dangerous and deadly and they're going to die. These are old people. And they're okay. They put a mask on. They see how it feels. And, they a little conscious about it, and that's it. And that's how it should be. I mean, that's exactly how it should be. Look, if you feel discomfort, if you feel you're safer with it, then wear it. It's a free country. But don't impress your values on others. Don't force down on others, like, and make them inconvenient, and then snub them and shame them like happens in New York. Like it happens in New York, get shamed. And then on top of that, the city improperly threatens you every single day. It's a real shame. And Florida does it right. They do it right. No restrictions, no mandates. You can open and enjoy your business freely. You can do whatever you want to do. Businesses offer services for you. They'll take your temperature. Businesses have implemented better cleaning, but they've done so willingly. They've put it in their budget, and they're not. So, for the big difference is New York. Yeah, you have to implement all this cleaning every hour. Oh, but you can only have 25% of your capacity. Well, that's not good. Because where's that money going to come from? Are you just supposed to lose? Are you just supposed to lose money? Are you just supposed to lose your business? Why can't you open up? Why can't you put that, hire an additional employee, or maybe get one of your current employees and give them 2 extra hours to just clean up the area every now and then? Like, why can't you do that? And it's really a shame. New York, you do it all wrong. And at first I was hopeful that people would stand up and do something, but you don't. And we have good court cases, but people don't. No one cares. The problem is that there are not enough business owners in New York. A large majority are employees that work for someone. There are not enough business people in New York with skin in the game, with ownership, with anything. There are not enough people in New York City that would actually be impacted by anything, and that's the problem. The biggest problem, they always say, when I was a kid, and it probably still holds true now, I'm sure, but the fastest way to get somebody conservative, to get somebody libertarian, to get somebody anti-government, the fastest way to do that is to let them own a piece of property or own a business. Because once you are responsible, once you are directly responsible for your family's health, for your family's survival, and you don't rely on employers, once you are directly responsible for pulling in that own money, you appreciate the freedom you have to drive that business. You appreciate the low taxes. You appreciate the tax breaks to keep more of your property. You appreciate all of this, and you don't have this when you are not owning your own business. You do not have this when you work in a union. You do not have this when you work for somebody. And that is key. That is absolutely key. What is happening in New York is private business owners, private property ownership, private property is under siege right now. Businesses are crushed. 6 out of 10 businesses in my neighborhood particularly are out of business. There are so many stores that say for rent and have not been rented. And what has happened, you have lost your ability to work. You have lost your ability to earn. You have lost your ability to control your movements and where you go for your capacity to earn. And you are now off the government's team. And that's it. And that's just what New York wants to do. And everyone says, well, why does New York want to do this? In my opinion, it's because of power. They want to solidify their power forever. Guys like to use the word socialism. Guys say the word communism. I don't care what ism you use, okay? It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what ism you use. Communism, socialism, I don't know, communalism, whatever it is. I don't care what you use. The fact that totalitarianism, the fact of the matter is you have a governing body that is not facilitating a free market, that is in fact making the market worse, restricting the market, restricting your right to earn, restricting your right to live your life. You have a government body that is destroying everything you have built in your life from day one. And it is absolutely sad. It is absolutely sad. And to see it being accepted in New York City breaks my heart. I remember a time in my life when the mobsters on the avenue. I never forget when it was the early 90s, they banned fireworks. I guess like the last kid got his finger blown up on like an M80 or something. I don't know, and they outright banned fireworks. Fireworks became illegal. The local mobsters delivered a very direct message to the state government at that point in time. Thank you very much. On 4th of July, it was literally World War III in front of my house on the avenue. I mean, it was literally World War III. And I'm mind blown that at this point in our lives, we are so complacent and so willing to give up our freedoms, and that mentality that born free, that live free and died, what is it? Born free and die, born something, die free. Someone remind me and send me a text message. But I mean that mentality is gone in New York. It's completely gone, and it's there in Florida, and it's very strong and prevalent in Florida. And I hope to go. I will be going to Florida more and more often. I will be going often now. I don't see me, if I'm not buying property in Florida, I see me just traveling down more often, and I really want to. I don't care. Like, I enjoy it. I was able to set up shop. I was happy. I had my laptops. I had my little folding table set up. I was able to do all my work. I couldn't do all my work, but I was able to maintain and not begin any new projects while I was down in Florida. and I'd like to do that a little more often. I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed my time there. I got to spend time with my wife that I wouldn't have spent otherwise. I mean, well, this was a legitimate vacation, but as a business owner, you don't really have a vacation. You have to keep working. So I basically just worked until 2 o'clock every day. I tried my best to get done earlier. I got up, exceptionally early in the morning to work, so I was getting up every day at 5 o'clock. It takes me a little while to wake up, so I put water on my face. By about 5:15, 5:20, I was working every day, 5:30 the latest, and I was just moving on from there, and I was just handling everything in the morning before 2, and then by 2 o'clock I took a few hours. I hung out with my wife, we hung out with family, while there was usually an hour in between where she's getting changed. We went back, I just checked up my emails, set them up for the evening, and then I came in the evening and I did whatever I could do left, and I tried to finish it off. But again, it's just a better life, and I'm sad to see what happened in New York, and that's the point of this. I want to just draw, one thing I've learned in Florida. Will New York ever get back to normal? I don't think so. I think that the big government stronghold in New York is very powerful. I think that nobody has any interest in reducing government power at any point in time. And, it's really sad. It's just really sad. So I don't know what to tell you. If you have a problem with the government, if you have a problem with the city, if you get a fine, I'm more than happy to help. I will give reduced rates. If you're a small business, don't worry. I don't know what more to do but to throw myself out there and help and assist. And if you have problems, if agencies are pressing you, please call me. I will take a far reduced rate for it. I won't do free because I just can't work for free. Obviously, I gotta pay bills. But at the end of the day, I can't have my city look like this anymore. I just can't. I'm better equipped now. I have, a team. I have more networking. I have more tools, and I'm just better. I'm better tooled for it than I've ever been in my life. And I just want you all to know that for those of you that clamor and miss New York what it was originally, I feel you. I pray to God that people in New York actually wake up one day. I don't think they ever will, but I pray that somebody in office, we elect somebody in office that will do the right thing, that will preserve our fundamental rights and freedoms, our fundamental, listen, you're guaranteed 14, there's 4 freedoms in life that everybody should understand. You have the freedom to try, the freedom to buy, the freedom to win, the freedom to lose. That's what needs to be preserved. And that's all there is to it. And this podcast has been delivered with minimal cursing and minimal frustration and minimal aggressiveness, because at this point I am mind blown. I've seen a better life. I've been down to Florida. I've seen a better life. South Carolina is a better life. People, either change New York, either change your mentality and fix this before it's too late, which I already think it's too late, but either fix this or get out of there. Get out of there quick. It's not good. It's terrible there. So please, just, be healthy, be safe, use better judgment, but at the same time, don't be afraid to oppose the tyranny. Do not participate in this. By participating, appeasing, by relentlessly, by turning your brain off and just following whatever they say, the federal government, and by sitting there and just only looking for your safety, you cause so much more detriment to yourself and to your society in the future. That it's really, really, really bad, and it will get worse. It's been getting progressively worse every single day, and it will get worse in the future because we're laying some pretty bad framework. So on that note, all of yours in love, lifts, and law. Have a beautiful day. We'll be back in Brooklyn shortly. I got like 2 more hours, I think, of driving. I will upload this. You can listen to it, share it with your friends. Come to my shop. There's shirts. There's going to be training modules and programs. We're going to do a whole lot of stuff. So I'm really excited. So I think when I get back, we're going to really be excited. Probably going to have a flagship outside of Florida too. And I don't know, at some point we're doing cool stuff. So have a great day, everybody. For those who are celebrating Valentine's Day, may your Valentine's Day be healthy and full and happy. And keep in mind, pro tip, don't worry, all junk food, wine, liquor, and chocolates that are eaten on Valentine's Day are calorie free. Trust me, I'm a lawyer. Would a lawyer ever Yeah, scratch that. Be safe, everyone.